Hello, friends, and welcome back to Our World in Focus. So I'm just here with Judah again, and we're glad to be with you again.
Yep, great to have you join us, and we hope what you found, what you listen to and hear from us will be interesting and insightful, and we're so happy that you can join along with us on our journey.
Yeah, and sorry for the long gap. I know my faithful 4 listeners have mentioned that they enjoyed the listen to the podcast, and I know we have some friends that are auditory learners or have preferences, so they don't like reading anything that I kind of send or long messages. So this is a good way, and I think I was struggling to release episodes or to record because often in Uganda it was all very loud background, and I think the perfectionist in me already wasn't happy at the poorer audio quality just using our phone recorder. But I was reflecting with a friend and just how, the idea, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. And yeah, it is something that I enjoy the podcast a lot, actually, just to speak with Judah. It's become a bit of a running joke that I would say to Judah, okay, let's do a podcast episode today or this evening. I probably said that multiple times in the last month and a half, and Judah gets mock annoyed at me saying, okay, yeah, fake promises. But here we are. I've cornered him to speak with me and to record it. And so, yeah. So, Judah, what should we speak about today?
So today I've been told by Benji that what we'll be doing is talking about Uganda and also East Africa overall.
Yeah. So, Uganda, we were there for the last month in East Africa. I wanted to wrap that up. We're actually recording from India. So, the next episode, I'd ideally like to talk about our return to the UK, what that was like. That was a very interesting stopover for us. And then we can link that into our first impressions going to India, how we felt before. And of course, we'd love to keep you up to date with our journeys in India. And of course, we have some perspective in our time in East Africa. So it'll be interesting. This is more reflective. So yeah, Judah, when I ask you about Uganda, what comes to mind? I know that it's like over 2 months ago when we actually landed in Uganda. But what comes to mind?
I'd say what comes to mind is gorillas, extremely long journeys,
Okay.
poor roads, and and a wing mirror being stolen in the car.
Yeah, those are interesting ones. And I think about volunteering and a wedding and bungee jumping and whitewater rafting. Let me maybe do a bit of a timeline, and that might remind you, Judah. Uganda was never on our list to go, to be honest. We were done with East Africa after about 3 months. There isn't really a established backpacking route per se, and it's quite high friction, which we can maybe speak about. And we basically had done the interior work, had the memorial service for our dad, scattered his ashes, caught up with friends, went to where dad was born in Tanzania. But Simeon has a school friend from Kenya getting married in Uganda. That was like towards the end of or middle December. So we thought, okay, at Simeon's behest, we extended our time, and I am glad we did, but it meant everything we did was kind of like a bonus. So Jude and I would have been happy to check out at that point and even go to India, but it's the way that it worked out, and we actually had quite a memorable time. So when we were in Tanzania of course is known for some world famous safari destinations to see animals in their natural wild habitat. But by that point we'd seen 2 safaris in Kenya, including Masai Mara, one of the other world famous ones. And we were going to go to Ngorongoro Crater, which is apparently like basically like Lion King in real life, apparently. Just really beautiful lots of high density of animals, and they got cancelled last minute. One of the tours that we booked, we made lots of friends and people associated with tour companies in Arusha in Tanzania, but it was cancelled, and I couldn't be bothered to spend like hundreds of pounds each on another safari when we had one for like a really good deal. And at this stage, I had the Lonely Planet book downloaded on my phone, or on my Kindle rather, and we saw that Uganda is one of the only places in the world to see mountain gorillas, and in fact the cheapest place and the safest place to go. So that became my new focus, and that was quite cool to have a reason to visit Uganda, because the wedding obviously was only a week of those 4 weeks that we had there. So but because gorilla trekking, just to add a bit of context, it's super expensive to get a permit, and also normally it's booked like months in advance. So at this stage where it became my mission, we only had about a week and a half, and to save money, I tried to plan it all myself. Which, by the way, we did a previous episode on AI. I don't think I could have planned the trip nowhere near as well without AI. That's become a really valuable assistant. So, proceeded to use ChatGPT, asked lots of questions, how to go gorilla trekking, where, how to do it myself, contacted multiple tour agencies, how to book permits and stuff. And in the end, we had some luck. There was a hotel that also our tour company down in Kisoro, so we booked that. But I didn't realize now in hindsight, but we had a very tough schedule that was kind of unnecessary. So transport in East Africa is really poor, to be honest. And being in India now, I can say that. There's trains in part of the country, in Kenya and Tanzania, but Uganda I don't believe has a functioning like tourist long distance train. So to get from Nairobi to Kampala, the capital of Uganda, it was a 22-hour bus journey, the roughest of our 4 months in East Africa, and you have to cross a notoriously corrupt border at 2-3 a.m. and the bus says it will arrive at 8 a.m. online, but we realised actually it's 12 midday or 1 p.m. and there's no toilets on the coach, and there's a few toilet breaks, but yeah, so it wasn't the most pleasant journey, and it's an overnight bus, and you hear about crazy drivers and danger with overnight buses. So anyway, so that was the context of entering Uganda, and then I hadn't had a hotel booked because I knew. So we entered Uganda on the Monday, and I forgot if it was a Wednesday or the Thursday that we had to. I think it was. Was it the Wednesday or the Thursday? I forgot if we had 2 days to spare. I think it was actually the Wednesday. Yeah. So we'd booked the permits and spent the money already to book the permits on the Wednesday. So we had to be there by Tuesday evening, effectively. So we got there on a Monday. My intention was to get a bus down, which was another 13-hour public bus. But it was too stressful to try and figure out. And there was a helpful lady on the bus who just gave advice to just stay somewhere. So I booked a hotel, short notice. Then in the morning, at about 6 a.m, we woke up and went down to Kisoro. So Kisoro is down south in Uganda. So we had this 22-hour overnight, not much sleep, bus journey. Then the next morning, waking up very early with a 13-hour bus journey. And the next morning, waking up at 5 a.m. to go to the gorilla trekking. So Julia was very annoyed at me. He's like, why did you do such a tight schedule? And I didn't know, to be honest. It was all very lastminute.com. But looking back, it worked out. It just wasn't as necessary. But yeah, so, and also you can't be ill for the date of gorilla trekking, and you can't get your money back fully if you have to cancel. So I was very self-conscious. I felt like a tickle in my throat after 2 nights of limited sleep, and I was like, oh no, I don't want to get ill. So I just tried to keep positive and also do a few rounds of Wim Hof breathing. to try get my body to kind of fight off the tickle, and that worked. So yeah, so those are our first few days, and I think once we got to the gorilla trekking, it was really beautiful. So these are the largest primate in the world, critically endangered, and there's about 800 to 900 left in the world, and they're all in this region that intersects Rwanda, Uganda, and DRC. Now, Rwanda's much more expensive. They've been on a big tourist drive. We didn't make it to Rwanda, even though we were on the border because of visas. After the stress of coming into Uganda, we're like, we're not going to risk going out of Uganda and coming back in so easily because of corruption. So, but anyway, and DRC is a country I could probably do a whole episode on. It's really fascinating, really beautiful country, very sad colonial history. But of course, you don't want to go to a country that's red listed by the government. On the UK government, all of DRC except 2 pockets are red. They're yellow. The rest is red. So they advise against all travel. So that left Uganda the only option. And it was really cool. You get given you kind of buy a permit, which gives you permission to spend an hour with the gorilla family, and they guarantee you to see them. They have different groups you're assigned: a long hike, short hike, medium hike. We chose the long hike to get more value for money, and you join. There were 6 other kind of foreigners like us, and it is really beautiful. Actually, you're hiking in this forest called Bwindi Impenetrable Forest, and you're making your own way, trying to go to where the trackers earlier in the day have found the gorillas, and yeah, it is worth the hype, to be honest. I was Drew and I were a bit skeptical. We're like, we were within budget. We'd done so well in East Africa, so it still didn't blow our budget, but it was the most we spent in one day, or you could even say for 1 hour even. But just a chance to see some of God's creatures up and close, and you can see on the YouTube channel there's a video as well. I had quite a close shave because when I was walking. Going down a path, I accidentally went next to one of the juveniles, and so the silverback kind of moved towards me. I interpreted it in the moment as it kind of, aggressively coming towards me, but it was actually, I was probably some little fly to it. It has a box or a punch, apparently 8 times stronger than a heavyweight boxer. Don't know how they measured it, but that's one of the random facts. But it kind of almost like lazily flicked his hand at me, and I just quickly like got out of the way, and I was quite shaken actually, like just seeing his eyes coming towards me, being like, yeah, move out the way. So that was cool now looking back, but we did that, and then afterwards we met these 2 Brits who were really fun, Tim and Pete, and they were going to Lake Bunyoni. So at that stage, after the gorillas, our schedule was completely open. So we're like, okay, yeah, we'll join you, and that was stunning. Probably the most beautiful lake I've seen in the world. Which that label is often or sometimes attributed to Lake Atitlan in Guatemala, or maybe even within the Lake District in the UK. And but anyway, just personally, like the scenery was stunning. Maybe because it was unexpected. People describe the scenery almost like Nepal, with there's lots of terraced hills, and there's basically multiple islands in this lake, and it's the only lake in Uganda, I think, that's completely safe to swim in, due to lack of crocodiles, hippos, and there's a particular bacteria or thing, starts with a B, that apparently if you stay in certain water for longer than 10 minutes, you can get quite ill. Really stunning, and we were there in low season, which probably helped with the beauty. It felt like really untouched beauty. So we tried to go canoeing, which was really hard, and went to visit another village with one of the guides at the hotel they were staying at on the lake, and yeah, just really, really stunning. And then afterwards we went up to Kampala to enjoy it properly. So someone from church that we met in Nairobi does work with a NGO in Uganda, and she put in the group, hey, I've got these 2 travelers from the UK coming, can anyone host them? or they didn't want to host them. So this lady called Fiona and her husband Joe kindly hosted us for free. We're complete strangers to them, but it was lovely. We stayed there for about 4 days. Went to a massive Ugandan Pentecostal church with them. She invited us to um, a kind of workshop with a life coach from Slough, of all places. It's a really cool guy. Yeah, just came and talked about how to become a better person and handle things. So that was really cool. And we still maintain contact with him. So these random stuff, and there was a high ropes course there, so we were just trying to take opportunities, and she would feed us local food. One time for breakfast we had a cow stomach, and we were the first non-Ugandans to ever stay in her flat. So she was really enjoying trying to feed us stuff, and we weren't enjoying eating it. So, sorry, Fiona, if you listen to this, that might be a bit mean. But in the sense that her cooking was very good and some dishes I really enjoyed. But just Ugandan cuisine as a whole was my least favourite in East Africa. It's quite a lot of mashed stuff and stews and yeah. No disrespect to my Ugandan friends. I just have Kenyan taste buds. So there's stuff like matoke, which is mashed, a special green banana. And they have this peanut stew and other mashed stuff, and so we had that. And then after Uncle Tony, who was the father of Serge, getting married, so he's the father of Simeon's school friend from Kenya. They're from Congo, but due to safety reasons getting married in Uganda, and he's actually a retired ophthalmologist. And when I told him I wanted to volunteer in East Africa months ago, he helped organize this trip to Uganda. So that was really cool to meet him, and he became like a mentor actually. For the first time really in my career, to have someone older than me, who's a Christian, who's done a lot of humanitarian eye care work, and he's just casually now retired in Congo. He worked for the WHO in Switzerland, helping eradicate river blindness for like 12 years. And knows a lot of people in humanitarian work, and he's like, I feel like I need to give back to my community, so I want to start an eye hospital in this region that will cover South Sudan, DRC, and Uganda, that catchment area in that part in Arua. And people were like, nah, that's too big a goal, and people had competing interests, so he couldn't do that. His dream was too big. So he's like, okay, I'll go to DRC and focus just there. So he's trying to set up an eye care project for 2 million people with no eye professionals. So when I told him, I was like, Tony, or I call him Uncle Tony, I want to volunteer. And he's like, look, if you want to come where the highest need is, it's in DRC, to be honest. And like I said, it's red listed on the UK government website. And some friends in the UK were a bit annoyed that we were considering even DRC. They thought it's irresponsible and, yada, yada, yada. And also Mum was getting weirdly concerned when I mentioned it. So we agreed with him that we focus on Uganda, and DRC would be a little side mission that we wouldn't tell anyone about. And we'd see if it works out. So Uganda became the main goal. We went to Arua.